Good morning. Welcome to part 2 of the Tibet Series road to Everest Base Camp. Today's journey will start from Shigatse and end at Everest Base Camp, covering a distance of 342 kilometers, which practically will take 9 to 10 hours. Shigatse, the second largest city in Tibet, bathed in the soft morning light. It's 8:30 a.m., and we're ready to embark on the journey of a lifetime. The streets of Shigatse are quiet, our vehicle is packed, and the excitement is palpable as we hit the G318 National Highway, also known as the Friendship Highway. As we leave Shigatse behind, the morning sun casts long shadows over the plateau, and I can't help but feel a surge of anticipation. This is the day we'll stand in the shadow of Everest. The road stretches out before us, cutting through the vast Tibetan Plateau, with rugged brown mountains and a clear blue sky setting the tone for the adventure ahead. After driving for about an hour, we pass through a quaint little town called Gyatso. It feels quiet and drowsy, slipping by in a flash, before we enter another expansive stretch of land dotted with various crops under cultivation. Along the way, we drive through a few small villages, each one a delightful glimpse of human life, carving out a presence in these remote landscapes. At 10:10 a.m., after about an hour and a half of driving, we reach a significant milestone on the G318, a monument marking the completion of 5,000 kilometers on this iconic highway. The monument stands proudly on the side of the road, a tall stone pillar with inscriptions celebrating the journey from Shanghai to the far reaches of Tibet. It's a moment to pause and reflect on the sheer scale of this road, one of the longest highways in China, stretching over 5,476 kilometers. As we step out to take photos, we're treated to an unexpected surprise, a herd of Tibetan antelope, locally known as chiru, not goa as we initially thought. These graceful creatures, with their slender legs and curved horns, are grazing against the rocky, brown backdrop of the mountains. I quickly grab my long-range telephoto lens and capture their elegance, their golden coats contrasting beautifully with the stark landscape. For the next 2 hours, we drive through the breathtaking landscapes of the Tibetan Plateau. The G318 winds through wide, open valleys. The sky is a deep, endless blue. At 12:05 p.m., we arrive at Gyatso Pass, a significant landmark on our journey. At 5,220 meters above sea level, Gyatso is one of the highest points on the G318. A large gate monument greets us, its colorful archway inscribed with the words, "Welcome to the Embark, Himalayan National Nature Reserve." We step out to take in the view, the thin air making every breath a conscious effort. Standing here at Gyatso, with the wind whistling through the prayer flags, I feel like we're on the edge of something truly extraordinary. From here, we catch our first distant glimpse of the Himalayan giants, a teaser of what's to come. 12:27 p.m., we leave Gyatso and begin our descent toward Tingri, a small town that will be our lunch stop. The road from Gyatso to Tingri is a mix of gentle descents and flat stretches, offering more stunning views of the plateau. We pass by more Tibetan villages, their stone houses blending seamlessly into the landscape. At 1:15 p.m., we roll into Tingri, a quaint town at 4,300 meters elevation, often called the gateway to Everest. Tingri, also known as Old Tingri, is a dusty, windswept place, its streets lined with low, whitewashed buildings topped with flat roofs. The town feels like a frontier outpost, caught between the vast Tibetan Plateau and the towering Himalayas to the south. Tingri buzzes with a quiet energy as travelers like us pass through on their way to Everest, sharing stories and anticipation. We head to a restaurant called Tingri, the roof of the world kitchen, for lunch. The restaurant is cozy, with wooden tables and a warm atmosphere. At 1:45 p.m., we're back on the road, leaving Tingri behind. The landscape becomes more rugged as we continue west on the G318. The road is flanked by rocky hills and the occasional nomad tent, with yaks grazing nearby. At around 2:00 p.m., we reach a police checkpoint where our passports and permits are thoroughly checked, a standard procedure in Tibet. After a brief stop, we continue driving until 2:16 p.m., when we arrive at another checkpoint for the Culminating National Nature Reserve. Here, we undergo a personal and vehicle check and purchase tickets to enter the reserve. A marker for the G318 National Highway catches our eye, proudly declaring it a must-drive in a lifetime, and noting that Shanghai is 5,476 kilometers away. Seeing the sign that says Shanghai is 5,476 kilometers away makes me realize just how far we've traveled. It's a humbling moment on this incredible journey. We take a moment to stretch our legs and soak in the significance of this journey.
Our guide has gone to pick the tickets.
For buying the tickets, we pass the personal security check and wait for the bus to arrive here after a security check. While we wait, we soak into the beauty of this place. One more pass at Gawu and we are into the Everest region. At 2:25 p.m., we set off again, now heading south off the G318 toward Everest Base Camp. The road becomes narrower and more winding as we begin our ascent toward Gawu Pass. The journey upward is a thrilling one, with the road climbing steadily through a series of tight switchbacks and loops. The landscape transforms. Dramatically rocky hills give way to jagged peaks, and the air grows thinner with every meter we climb. The loops in the road are steep and dizzying, offering sweeping views of the valleys below. With each hairpin turn, my heart races not just from the altitude, but from the sheer thrill of getting closer to Everest.
Majestic views of the city.
At 3:06 p.m., we reach Gawu Pass, and the sight before us takes our breath away literally and figuratively. At 5,200 meters, Gawu Pass is the best place in the world to view 5 of the 14 peaks over 8,000 meters: Everest, Lhotse, Makalu, Cho-Oyu, and Shishapangma. The panorama is otherworldly, a jagged line of snow-capped giants stretching across the horizon. Everest stands tallest among them, its north face gleaming in the afternoon light. I pinch myself to make sure this isn't a dream. These peaks, the highest on Earth, feel like they're speaking to us in their silent, ancient language. We spend a few moments in awe, snapping photos and soaking in the sheer scale of these mountains. It's the world's only viewpoint that can simultaneously view 5 8,000-meter snow peaks, so it is also popularly known as the world's most beautiful viewing platform. Gawu Pass is about 30 kilometers from Tashilhunpo town of Tingri County and about 80 kilometers from Everest Base Camp.
Mount Everest.
Standing on the mountain and overlooking the snow-capped mountains is completely different, as the perspective is wider and it can better reflect the majesty of the mountains, stretching hundreds of miles. Usually, tourists only stay at the pass, where you can see 5 8,000-meter high peaks. However, if you walk a short distance to reach the summit above the mountain pass, at the top of which you can see the 6th 8,000-meter mountain, Kanchenjunga, which is 8,586 meter high in the east. At 4:19 p.m., after descending from Gawu, we reach a designated parking lot about 20 kilometers before Rongbuk Monastery. This is where we must leave our vehicle behind and board a compulsory eco-bus to protect the fragile environment of the Everest region. We park our vehicle and take a moment to organize our belongings, leaving all non-essential items behind for the night. There's no need to carry extra weight to Everest Base Camp, where we'll be staying in a tent. The correct pronunciation of Komolangma, which is a Tibetan word for Mount Everest, is Cho-Mo-Lang-Ma.
There is our guy.
At around 4:30 p.m., we board the Eco Bus, a small electric vehicle designed to minimize environmental impact. The bus is simple but functional, with large windows offering views of the rugged terrain as we begin the final leg of our journey to Everest Base Camp. The Eco Bus journey from the parking lot to Everest Base Camp is a 20-kilometer ride that takes us through some of the most dramatic landscapes we've seen yet. The road winds through the Cho Mo Langma National Nature Reserve, with rocky hills and glacial moraines on either side. As the bus rumbles along, I press my face to the window, trying to etch every detail of this otherworldly landscape into my memory. At 5:21 p.m., we finally arrive at Everest Base Camp, a collection of tents, and a small monument marking the northern base of the world's highest peak. After quickly settling into our tent at Everest Base Camp, we bundle up in every layer of clothing we have. It's freezing at 5,200 meters, and the wind is biting. At 6:07 p.m., we start walking toward the Everest viewpoint to catch what we hope will be the most beautiful sunset of our lives. The farthest point you can walk from base camp toward the Everest viewpoint is about 2 kilometers, and let me tell you, it's no easy feat. The altitude makes every step a struggle. The cold numbs our faces, and we can barely speak, only managing to whisper to conserve energy. This will be the boarding point for our way back to the Eco Bus Terminal in the morning. This is the Rongbuk Monastery. Rongbuk holds the title of the highest monastery in the world, a testament to the enduring spirituality of this remote region. The monastery's stone walls, weathered by the harsh Himalayan elements, stand in stark contrast to the barren, rocky landscape around it.
Out of the blue, you're in it too, you're in it too. I surrender, lay me down, cracked hardwood floors, not one single door. I surrender. Tell me stories, not a lot of time.
It takes us over 30 minutes to reach the farthest point, arriving at 6:41 p.m. The effort is worth it. We're standing at the edge of the viewpoint, with Everest's north face towering before us, its snow-covered slopes glowing in the late afternoon light. The sky is crystal clear, not a single cloud in sight, setting the stage for an unforgettable sunset.
Every part of me, I surrender. Blood, veins, bones, skin. Every part of me, blood, veins, bones, skin. Blood, veins, bones, skin. Oh, it's my own damn fault that I've fallen for you. We haven't even talked, still I'm obsessed with you. Was it your milky eyes or your skin? I don't know. Doesn't matter anyway, 'cause I'm never letting you go. I know it's gonna take some time, but I will make you mine. I'll go the extra mile. I'll do what needs to be done until the race is won. I'll go the extra mile.
6:41 p.m. to 7:55 p.m. We witness a sunset that words can hardly describe. The sun begins its descent, casting a golden glow across Everest's peak. The yellows slowly turn into oranges, then deep oranges, bathing the mountain in a fiery hue. In this moment, time seems to stand still. There's just us, the mountain, and the sun, painting a masterpiece we'll never forget. We stand in silence, spellbound, not talking to anyone, just gazing at this majestic piece of nature. The colors shift and deepen, and by 7:55 p.m., the last ray of light leaves Everest, creating a stunning silhouette against the darkening sky. It's a moment of pure magic, one we'll carry with us forever. As the light fades, we suddenly remember how cold it is. Funny how the beauty of the moment made us forget the freezing temperatures. After the sunset, we begin our walk back to our tent at Everest Base Camp, the 2-kilometer trek feeling even harder in the dark and cold. As we trudge back in the dark, the stars above EBC shine brighter than I've ever seen. A perfect end to a day I'll cherish forever. We're exhausted but exhilarated, our minds replaying the incredible sunset we just witnessed. Back at the tent, we settle in for the night, knowing it will be one of the most challenging nights of our lives. Sleeping at 5,200 meters in a tent is no joke, with the cold and altitude making rest difficult. That's a story for another day. But as I reflect on this journey, I know one thing for sure. If given the chance to visit Everest Base Camp again, I'd choose it in a heartbeat. This day, from Shigatse to Everest Base Camp, has been an adventure of a lifetime, filled with stunning landscapes, cultural encounters, and the awe-inspiring presence of Mount Everest. Thank you for joining me on episode 10 of my Tibet series. Stay tuned for more.
I'll go the extra mile. Oh, it's my own damn fault that I've fallen for you. We haven't even talked, still I'm obsessed with you. Was